Welcome to the Planet Paintball Podcast, the ultimate podcast for paintball enthusiasts. Each week, we dive into the world of paintball, bringing you stories, insights, and tips from players, coaches, and industry insiders. Sponsored by 1023 Sportswear. Looking for high-quality gear that performs as hard as you do? Check out 1023 Sportswear. And as a listener of the Planet Paintball Podcast, you can get 20% off your order with the code Planet Paintball. Suit up, save big, and play your best.
All right. Welcome back to the Planet Paintball Podcast. I am Hunter Patterson here with Larry Motes today. The show is brought to you by 1023 Sportswear and Southwest Paintball in Bayfield, Colorado. Larry, how you doing today?
Good, sir. How are you?
Good. I was really excited when you said you would do it. You were definitely on my list when I first started thinking about this show. And then I did one with Josh Conley, who was like, you have to get Larry on. So he kind of pushed me along.
Josh, good people.
Yeah. Big fan of Josh and what he's doing these days. So, but let's start at the beginning, man. How did you find this crazy sport that we call paintball?
Well, when I was in service, I was stationed in Fort Hood, Texas, and this was in the late '80s. So the year down there in Texas, there was a lot of talk about paintball, and I think they had a field in Houston, but we never got to it. But when I got out in '89, I had a cousin that was trying to do a gun store. And he had a little paper called the Shotgun News, and they were advertising you could buy Splatmasters for $80. You could get a box of Nelson paint, which was tubes, 10 balls of tube, but it was like $200 for a little box of paint like that. And so we ordered four Splatmasters and a box of paint, and it's been on since.
All right, nice. How quickly? Hey, Splatmasters, that's even before my time. I came in when autocockers and automags were the game.
So this is like early 1989.
So was that 15-man competitions back then?
Honestly, we didn't do competitions back then. We just kind of, I guess you call it playing wildcat. Somebody had some wood, and we go, hide and go seek, a little hunting, a little stalking, just straight elimination. But it's just a good time.
Yeah. So when did it become a more serious thing?
I joined a team called Ambush, probably in I don't know, the 96, 97, somewhere in that neighborhood. And we played a tournament called the Traumhead Sports Circuit, which was run by Jeff Gallivan from Traumhead Sports. So we went to a place in Raleigh called the Bunker. And I think it was the Bunker. But anyway, we met Danny Manning and a bunch of those guys. Bad Company's local team, Tidewater, they were part of that group. But anyway, that was the first tournament we played like this. And Jeff had a novel idea to create a bunch of little regional Traumhead sports circuits, and then play for a national championship when those little individual areas or regions were, they had decided their own champions. So, but anyway, although all those plans for him doing the Traumhead sports circuit the rug kind of got pulled out from under him. I don't want to call names or appear to be bashing anybody, but the rug kind of got pulled out from under him, and some other group took it over. And the thing that made the Traumhead friendly was, back then, when paint was anywhere from $80 to $100 a case.
Yeah.
If you had a wholesale connection and you could bring your own paint, that was a huge deal. So, but this new group was not going to be bring your own paint. It was going to be field paint only with some new ball nobody had ever heard of called Diablo. So,
some new ball.
Anyway, yeah, it was new. Nobody knew anything about it. But, anyway, the idea of being forced to buy field paint just didn't sit well with my group. Believe it or not, we picked up, Paintball to Extreme, which was kind of an oversized magazine. They had a field listing in the back, and we looked up the North Carolina fields in that, and we made some cold calls. Hey man, we think about putting together a league. Would you be interested? And sure enough, we had enough people bite, and we had a meeting. And next thing you know, man, it's 98 or 99. We were CFA with them.
Nice. So it literally just started like the name Carolina Field Owner Association. Then.
Yeah, I never really designed it to be my baby, but as things picked up and moved along, it became more and more my responsibility. You know, I was able to do it full time for a few years.
Okay. Nice.
It was a lot more than I ever envisioned it being. And back then, there was some good ball being played in this area, and it still is. It was just unheard of back then because nobody was really putting, where all these guys come from. You had Ken Burke's group going up to Chicago and being on the podium up there. You had a group from Summerfield, Quake. They went down to the World Cup. I think they played amateur A down there, and I think they finished like 8. And you get guys like that from this region just showing up and balling out, but nobody was collectively putting it together here. So once we got all those guys to kind of say, yeah, we play, man, competition, and it breeds competition. So
yeah, it's one of those build it and they will come thing. If you have a solid team, you will get a other solid team around you shortly.
absolutely, iron sharpens iron. So
Yeah.
but that's kind of how it got kicked off. But back in the day, we tried to let the field owners do as much as possible as far as handling the air. We didn't play on sub-air fields. We had, that spoon fields, those wood fields.
Yeah.
We had something in Ambush we called the Black Diamond Field. So, but everywhere you went, the fields were going to be different. The length, the width, the bunker composition, everything. And then of course you had team repping back then. So
yeah, yeah. The home guys had to ref the events, didn't they?
well, I mean, you rep for seed points. So back then, the bulk of the league was amateur. You had a few novice teams that were playing, but not many. So, and we didn't want the novice teams repping because they were just too many.
Yeah. So, okay, makes sense.
But back then everybody took a shot at repping. You were on a serious team, but sooner or later you repped an event.
Yeah.
I think there was a little more, not so much whining about the calls back then. You got some guys that'd be mad about, oh, I shot him first or whatever. For most part, you understood what it was like to be out there in the stripes because you got an opportunity to do it for a weekend.
Yeah. Or you at least knew the guys that were doing it and had a relationship with them, so not so quick to throw accusation their way.
Yeah, for sure.
When you guys started off, now like the standard's kind of like 4 to 5 events, but I remember it being like 6, 7 events. How many events were you guys running?
When I was handling it, I think the most events that we ran for 5 men in one year was 9, but I think 8 was the staple. Typically, we'd start in late February, and we try to be done by the time World Cup rolled around.
Okay.
So I think 8 was our staple number for 5 men. So then, we started doing X balls. That put another 5 events in. So
yeah, because you did run X ball on separate weekends, didn't you? Than 5-man.
Yes.
Yeah. That must have kept you really busy.
Well, there at the busiest, I think we were running like 32 weekends a year.
Wow.
We started we went in with Paintball Central and put together a CFWA 3-man. And the idea was to put 3-man at the local parks and let the parks, grow their player base through the 3-man series. The idea would be that, 2 3-man teams would make a 5-man team, after a season or 2 of 5-man, if they wanted to, a couple 5-man teams form an X-ball team.
Yeah.
So the idea was to create a means of growth.
Well, I think it worked because that's how my brother got into tournaments, really.
Yeah.
I was off in college and he started doing that, so I'd come home and coach him.
Yeah. Yes, they played out of Greensboro or?
At Greenville.
Greenville, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not old absolute Carnage guys, but kind of the second generation, if you will, Carnage guys.
Oh, that man.
No. Actually, that's I don't know if you can see it. It's right up there. That's Joe at World Cup.
Okay.
So we pass it around the team guys now. Some guys have it for a little bit, and then we move it on.
Yeah.
At one point, you guys were the second largest league in the country, right?
2 or 3. I mean, just depends on, I guess, the season you want to talk about. 07 was the year that 5-man really blew up.
Okay.
I think over 8 dates, I think we averaged about 120, 125 teams over 8 dates.
Wow.
In 07. So with the high being about 145 down in Olympia Springs, a place called Classic Paintball.
I remember Classic.
Yeah, funny thing about that particular event, Alex Reed he was a representative from Traxxas. He showed up. This was the first event of 2007. So he shows up at the event and he's like, man, you guys got a lot of teams. I'm like, yeah, 145, most ever. And he's like, yeah. He says, you only got 4 fields. You don't have enough field and enough daylight to get this event in. I'm like, Alex. I said, we'll be fine. He says, no, you can't do it. It's impossible. You won't get this event done. I said, Alex, sit back and relax. I said, I'm going to tell you now, we're going to run the event. We're not going to play in the dark and we're going to finish early. This is impossible. You just can't do it. And we did it. So stick around to Sunday. You'll see. We'll be packed up before it gets dark. And we did. So
I mean, that's a lot of that's a lot of teams that people have problems with now doing, like at a much smaller number, even in 5-man or 3-man. What was the key to that?
great staff. Great staff. I mean, I had an experienced group of refs. I had an experienced group of scorekeepers, and we'd meet with them before the event and say, hey, I don't care if you run ahead of the schedule. The schedule, and I tell the captains it's in the meet, the schedule is just to order the games. Listen up. The scorekeepers will call you to the field. I said, field, run as fast as you can. Just stay together. Field 1's 4 games in front of field 4. Of course, they're going to be waiting on a team that's coming off of field 4. So just stay together. And if y'all stay together, I don't care how fast you run. So, just don't cause me problems with our customers.
Mm-hmm.
They can't be coming off of one field and being pushed right back onto the other. They need them.
Yeah,
So,
especially.
other than that, yeah, the staff was awesome. Scorekeepers,
Okay.
all the refs, good people.
Also, we kind of touched on it a little bit, but as tournaments were changing and airball started evolving, you still ran. I remember going down, I think it was Adventure Beach at the time, and you had like 6 fields, all airball, but they were all designed differently. Did you as a league design the field layouts, or was that on the
That was us as a league doing the layouts. And I'll be
Okay.
honest with you, we went out there, during those days, there was no layout in mind. We get out there and start inflating bunkers and we just set them up and we try to do something we thought was cool. So, the, I'm not really, I did it just to keep up with the Joneses, but I'm not really a fan of releasing layouts.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, if you release the layout, if you don't spend the time and money to go practice the layout, you're losing ground and advantage to people who do. And to me, I think, the tournament's going to do something to help their turnout. Quit releasing the layouts. That'll encourage more of the casual players to come out and play a tournament because, the competition hasn't been playing the same layout for a month.
Yeah. Yeah. And spending 2 days a weekend on it at minimum
Yes.
of 2 cases. So it
Yes.
definitely, it helps. I agree. It helps the teams a lot if it's a blind layout. I understand the release for fields.
Walking the field used to be an art form.
Yeah.
If you could walk the field or, find the blind spots or, that used to be part of the game, but now it's how much time can you get on the layout?
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I think the blind layout encourages teams to watch other teams more, right? To see what they're doing and what they're getting away with.
yeah, absolutely. It don't hurt. Back in '05 when we still did amateur, rookie and novice, I had the amateur champions that year was a team called Running Wild. And Running Wild, they would volunteer to ref Saturdays while the rookies were playing. They wanted to be on the field. They wanted to see, what the lanes were, what the angles were, where the shots were. And they go out there and they get an education on Saturday and then they come play on Sunday. They were good refs too, so I can't knock.
Little hint there for back in the day. How did you expand from just the Carolinas? Because at one point you were going up to Virginia, down into Georgia, out into Tennessee. And I think outside of a national league, you were the first one to kind of have that far reach.
Well, we never went into Virginia.
Okay.
Virginia was trying to do some stuff on its own, but I think Greensboro was the furthest north we ever went.
Okay.
But the deal was, if you came and played the league would try to, bring a date towards you. So, back in the day, we had a pretty good playing group out of the alternative sport there in Kingsport, Tennessee. They came to us repeatedly for 2 or 3 years, and we finally went to them, and towards the end, it wasn't so much about, the league was pretty well traveled.
Yeah.
Before the economy went in the toilet in 2008, we did demographics on the league, and the league had something like 450 different stores and fields participated in the league, just based on what we could glean from the APPA system. But anyway, those 450 stores and fields come from about 16 different states. So the idea was, to try to spread it around, not put the burden of travel on the same group of teams every time. And, we tried to stick to the interstate system as well. Greensboro to Charlotte, kind of Grove on the way, it was a 40-85 kind of league.
Mm-hmm.
So, we did eventually run one event in Florida, an fall event. That kind of had mixed responses, but, it was the first event of the season. But, we went down to Central Florida Paintball in Lakeland, and maybe we played 80-degree weather in February.
Can't find that in the Carolinas.
And the Florida people thought it was freezing, so it was hard. But needless to say, the weather, I think the weather made it worth the drive. But I don't know. I don't think a lot of people like that, 9.5, 10 hour ride. Either way, Tennessee was just one of those things, man. Some of the teams came to us, so we tried to take it back to them.
Okay.
Georgia, same deal.
And like you said, you had teams coming from all over.
Yes.
I know Louisiana had a couple teams in there. Trying to feel like there was a Maryland team at one point. And was there a Puerto Rican team?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I mean, I ain't gonna say there wasn't, players in the league, but I wasn't aware of a team that traveled that far.
Gotcha.
The furthest traveler that I knew of was a fellow that came to the beach event. Maybe it was 05, but he came all the way from Australia.
Wow.
Yeah. Cat and Ron Green with Got You Covered. They had kind of been talking to him online, and I guess he'd been following us through the internet and some dirty DVDs and whatnot. And yeah, he actually showed up, and I met the fella. Still Facebook friends with him too.
Awesome. I met a random French guy in Aiken, played a 3-man for Raleigh back in 2002-ish.
Wow. And we take these dates around, man, but now that's like 20.
Yeah. Gets a little fuzzy, you walked away for a little bit, right? I don't know if you want to say anything about that.
Well, I'm going to take credit for me, okay?
Yeah.
I feel like I ran a good league. I felt like I surrounded myself with great people, and those great people were a big part of that league being the success it was. But I won't sit here and tell you I was the greatest businessman. So, some mistakes there, kind of put myself in a bad way, and it came time to.
Okay.
So, like I say, I made the mistake, and I own it.
All right. Fair enough. No one can hate on that.
Well, I mean, people just whining and crying. It's everybody else's fault. No ownership, just.
Mm-hmm.
I own it.
All right. And then we talked about before we start recording, but then you came back for the Carolina Cup, which was
Yes.
short-lived, but I kind of feel like it was ahead of its time a little bit.
I'm going to go over our conversation again a little bit.
Yeah.
And the cup was Carolina Cup was it was a concept developed from a conversation with Lane Wright at an MAO in Rockville in 2008, and Lane was talking about, back in the day, there was no divisions in tournament paintball. You just showed up and took on who the schedule said you play. It was all one event, no divisions. And anyway, and Lane said something to the effect about figuring out how to handicap tournament paintball. So that question always stuck in my mind. So anyway, when we put together the Carolina Cup, that was the whole idea. Everybody knew somebody that was ranked way in front of them, but you couldn't play together. So, bring your fans, just, you got to fit in the template. One pro and 4 rookies and a beginner. Could they take on, 3 amateurs and 2 rookies? So, the idea was there. So, we figured out a means using the ID system
Mm-hmm.
without paying for it, as a matter of fact. So anyway,
I remember some chatter about that.
yeah, I got a couple calls from Chris Rail. He was not happy. But either way, yeah, the idea was, just being able to handicap things. And, we didn't get to do it too many times, but, it was a novel concept.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was a cool one. So when did you have to like kind of step away from playing to run the league? Like, did that happen early on or?
The last year I was competitive was 2004.
Okay.
Yeah, I was playing with a team called Most Wanted, which was kind of a couple pieces from Ambush and um, a couple of guys from the old Paintball Point field in High Point. It was more or less a throw together team, but we went in, bought team guns. We had a little something going for us, but the league had kind of taken on a life of its own by that point. So,
Yeah.
and if you're going to do all this stuff with the league, it's not very great to compete against your own customers.
Yeah. It can cause issues, I would imagine.
And then we were getting to the point, of, I don't. By that point, we weren't hiring refs, but we had some refs. I think we were still doing team ref at that point, but I think '05 maybe was the year that '05 or '06 we had Trom and First Strike sharing refing responsibilities. And,
Okay.
yeah, so and then it just got to the point where basically we had to hire refs. We had to create a refing program. When you're doing all that, you don't want your customers to see that you're competing against them and charging them for the privilege.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. Do you still play every now and then? You still got any of the old markers laying around?
Man, I have a closet full of markers out here in my garage. I last played at Boss Paintball 2 years ago.
Okay.
Tried to play a little air ball, didn't go so good. My thing is just my knees aren't in great shape, so um, being out there where I need to be is in the woods. Our footing is in the woods.
Yeah.
So, but I have two boys. Jesse's 30 and Lindsay's 16, and they play. Lindsay plays a lot more than Jesse, but um, yeah, he gets out to the field probably once a month.
Okay, nice.
Been taking him down to Boss Paintball down there with George Torres down there in Locust, right outside of Concord.
Yep. Yeah, I know where it is. I went to school in the area. I don't think I ever went to Boss Paintball though, but I see it online all the time.
Yeah, George is he's set up for the newer players, so normally got a pretty good little rental group down there, and he's always got a bunch of walk-ons, so pretty good little group. George good people too. But, he was a player back in my days, so it feels good to support him.
So is there out of the collection, do you have a favorite?
I have an X Mag that I had
Nice.
custom. You familiar with the movie 300, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, if 300 had a thing gun, my X Mag would be it.
that would be it.
Yeah, it's kind of patina gold, and it has red splatter all over it, and has a big chevron on the battery pack on both sides, and Spartan head painted on the top spine and stuff. And it's gold, red, and black. So, but the Anno guy, Tyler Fair from Aesthetic, he did an incredible job on patina and putting a patina on that thing. Because I mean, the more you look at it, the deeper it goes. But that's
Yeah.
that's my baby.
I believe Aesthetic did my free flow for me. So
Yeah.
yeah, I had to get on the one of the free flow. I got one of the new Lotuses. So when they came out a couple years ago, had to buy that dream gun.
People. He's done one, two, three. He's done 4 guns for me and part of another.
Oh, nice. So you got a
Yeah.
warp feed for that bad boy?
I have a warp feed, but it hadn't seen the field since '04. So
Okay.
yes, now it's just it's off center mount. So
Mm-hmm. Yep.
when she's right, that thing will scream.
What?
Courtesy of Jake Marine. When it's right, that thing will scream.
Yeah.
And that ain't a 10 ball a second marker. So
No, that's blowing past that speed limit.
Jake Marini down there. Jake's down there in South Carolina somewhere towards Charleston.
Yeah, he's in Charleston. My brother went to school with him.
Yeah, he texts my mags for me.
He's
Good
one
man.
of the best for sure.
Yes.
If you got a auto cocker or a mag, send it to Jake at Bearded Works.
Yes, he is the man.
Well, what do you think? Just what's your opinion on, like, do you keep up with the sport still, or?
I'll be honest with you, I had tried to ignore it for a while, but as my youngest kid has gotten of age, it's he pays a little more attention to it, so I pay a little more attention to it.
Okay.
He comes in here, I want this gear, and I'm like, what is it you want? Oh, I want this hopper. That's virtue hopper. I'm like, okay, how much is it? $200. I said, $200 for a hopper that feeds 10 balls a second? So, and he's like, well, it's not like in your day. So we go back and forth on all that.
Okay.
Yeah, he likes to drag all my old stuff out, see how much of it he can acquire and put in his bag.
I bet. Yeah, you probably you got the treasure troves back there. All the old G stuff, huh?
Well, he's got, well, I don't call it an X mag. It's an E mag with a aftermarket body on it. So him and his big brother both have one like that, and um, yeah, they both have several mags. So Lindsay likes his Planet Eclipse stuff too. Jesse, he got kind of aggravated with his mags, and he bought him an axe. So
Okay.
uh,
The
anyway,
some people say that bolt system is the next evolution of the mag.
well, yeah, I believe that.
So,
I believe that. But it'd be interesting to know what Tom could do if he'd stayed in.
mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you kind of think of the state paintball's in now? And you've seen it go from beginning to its heights to the financial crash, which wiped us out.
What I'd really like to see is like the national events. I'd like to see the national events. I'd like to see that league, XL, whatever it is, PP, buy a property. I mean, I don't know what it costs. I don't. Back in the day, I don't know what the PSP paid Disney's Wild World of Sports to go down there and run an event for a week on their complex, but I bet it wasn't cheap.
No, it couldn't have been.
My guess is, by the time you've done that 2 or 3 years, you could have bought property and then invested, everything you were spending on rent into that property and develop that property. So I don't know. I've always thought maybe 5 regional leagues based around these 5 parks that would be the host for your national dates, and
So, and then you would have your regional base, and then you'd bring a national event once a year to those parks. Yeah.
that's what I'm stumbling around trying to say. Yeah, I
Uh,
think that'd be the way to do it. I just hate that they have. I mean, what's the lowest level at the NXL now? D5?
yeah, I think they have D5, and then I guess depending on how you want to look at it, they have the youth division now.
Yeah. Me personally, I'd like to see it where nothing below T2 played national level ball.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But I don't know that they could do that. And, tournament paintball players are notorious. They spend so much to play the game, but they're not going to let you make money off of it.
Yeah.
So, they're kind of notorious for that. But, I don't think the league could survive on D2 and above because everybody's like, what can you do for me? But still, I don't know. I think if you had that kind of premium put on those level of players, you'd see a little more upward progression from the lower players instead of
Okay.
having to force them up. You want to go play the Nationals? Oh, well, you got to be at least D2 to go play the Nationals.
Yeah. You need to step it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right there. I hate it or love it. I feel like there's too many divisions almost.
Well, I mean, I can remember when we brought out D6. I mean, Chris at the APPA, well, I mean, how low are we going to go? I'm like, D6, man, you get, back then it's for 3 men, right? So
Yeah.
in the 3 men, we played a spring and a fall season. You could only be D6 for 4 events, 5 events if you made the playoff bracket.
Okay.
So, there was 4 spring events, 4 fall events, and each one had a championship. But, 5 events is all you could play D6. And then it was forever gone. There's no falling back. That's for new players. So, but, I don't feel bad about that. Man, national leagues are cutting, counting on having 200 D5 teams to come play so they can, make payroll. I don't know, that doesn't make for a healthy tournament league. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's regional play, local play.
Yeah. I would love to see maybe, like you were talking about, a D2 for the 4 events, and then if they wanted to open up World Cup, just because World Cup's World Cup. But you go down there and you got not only the X Ball, you got the 5-man, you got the 3-man, you got the open, which I love, and the mounds down there. But if they own their own spot, they could really make that something else too.
Absolutely. Well, my thought was, that if you had these 5 parks, what'd be wrong with putting 6 fields there? All right. And the 6 fields, all right, you dedicate 2 for the big event. You dedicate those 2 fields. Nothing but, pro, semi-pro, and D2 gonna play on these fields. And the other 4, you run your regional league. That way the regional teams get to come in and rub elbows with the upper echelon players. But when the circus moves to the next part, well, your regional players, they can come watch, but you can't register to play.
Like you'd have to register for one region.
Yes.
Okay. I like that.
So
kind of forces you to rep your home state a little bit, or area at least.
I mean, it'd be stupid for people in North Carolina and South Carolina to go all the way to Texas to play.
People do it, and people do it.
Yeah. I mean, if that's your region. So, I don't know. I would have thought we'd have had Expo on TV by now, and that would be, selling competitive play. But I don't know. That ain't never gone the way they thought it would go.
Yeah, it's always kind of, I don't know. We had a stint, right? And then Smart Parts did their thing. The MPPL did their thing, which wasn't X-Ball. And then they got it back on last year and filmed at the Atlantic City. And supposedly they're filming this weekend at the Atlantic City too.
Really?
Yeah. But they gave us like a 1 a.m. time slot initially last year.
Yeah, but I mean, they had so many views. They played it again earlier because I watched.
Yeah, they did. They did, and supposedly we're getting a much better time slot this year. Last year was also the Olympics, though, so a lot of professional sports were taking time off. So I don't know how that works this year either.
Well, I still think they got some filming concepts they got to work out. I don't know if you could ever really broadcast it live, but I don't know. In my mind, I've always thought paintball was more film-wise like NASCAR than it was football or basketball.
Okay.
Football and basketball, you have something to focus on. You have the ball. But, I mean, you've watched the race on television, right?
Yeah.
All right. So how do they make the race interesting?
Well, I mean, they go up and down that line, right? Like you aren't always just focused on the number 1 spot. You're checking out what's going on in the back of the line. It's where some of the good moves get made.
And then, the commentary's there to lead you into what's happening. Oh, this race is for 10, 11, or 12, So, I mean, I kind of felt like that's the way they should be going to film paintball. I don't know. I'm just a poor dude with no money, no influence.
You're the first person that I've ever heard suggest that, and I think that's a pretty good idea.
Well, yeah, you just had talked to me in a while. Really old.
So what are the kids playing any events these days, or are they just going out having fun at Boss?
Lindsay actually got invited to kind of play with a couple other guys with the idea of maybe forming a 3-man team.
Okay.
So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I mean, one, he's a big kid. I mean, he's a little over 6'3", 300 pounds. He wants to play football in college, so I try not to let him play paintball when football season's in because
that's fair.
I mean, you can't serve 2 masters,
No,
he go out there and twist an ankle or bang up a knee or something, diving around, landing on a root or something in the woods. It just wouldn't be fair to his teammate.
Yeah.
Or vice versa.
Yeah.
Or vice versa.
Yeah, that's true. If you get hurt on the football and you're trying to play a paintball event the next weekend, now your teammates are down a guy.
Yes.
So if he does this 3-man thing, are we gonna get to see Coach Larry?
I'll be honest with you. With Lindsay, with his football, I coached him from 1st grade all the way through 6th grade.
Okay.
And he's still doing the football thing. But when he got into middle school, I asked him. I said, "Do you want me to critique you and break down what I see you doing wrong, or do you want me to just be your dad? Just be my dad?"
Okay.
So
that's fair.
I'm pretty sure that's how it'd be for paintball. Just be my dad.
Okay.
Which means I'm the pod bitch. So yeah, he's been taking advantage of that playing rec balls. So.
That's what I don't know if you remember Chris Robinson. He played with Dark Carnival, worked at National, and shot 4 for a while.
Yeah.
His two boys are playing now, and he's been relegated to team dad status.
You know, it's weird. You know Jared Lackey, right?
I know him a little bit. We actually just talked a little bit at the CFOA Blitz, but I don't know him super well.
Okay, well, Jared was one of the kids at my field when I had China Grove, right?
Okay.
So anyway, there was a group of these kids. Jared, kid named Hunter, kid named Ryan, Josh Barton, Robbie Bendig, all these were just kids at the China Grove field. So anyway, a lot of these kids have gone on to do some great things. But playing down there at Boss, I run into Hunter and Ryan, and they're 36 now. Hadn't played paintball in 20 years, and now they got their own 16-year-olds out there playing paintball. So it's like, I got Ryan's number. I'm like, hey man, we'll be at the field this weekend. And he's like, okay man, I don't know if we can make it this weekend. Maybe we'll catch you next time.
Nice.
Yeah, they're interested in getting their kids going in the tournament scenes. They don't know what to do to get those other three shockers running again.
Hey, those are unique beasts.
Yeah, Hunter had one that he pulled out of the closet. The board's all jacked up on it. So, you don't find parts for 22-year-old guns anymore.
No, it's a little hard. He needs to hit up Jake. If anyone can get it running, it's probably Jake.
Yes, it was good to see those kids. Man, they both had full beards. That last time I seen them, Hunter just got his permits. Yeah, weird. It's surreal there for a moment. Comes up to me, he's got a full beard, he's got all these aviator sunshades, it's like, you don't remember me, do you? I'm like, take the glasses off, let me see what I'm looking at. As soon as he said Ron Rates, oh yeah, I know who you are. Yeah, it's been a minute though.
Yeah.
And it's good to see those kids again.
How long did you own China Grove for?
Well, the ambush team kind of fell apart probably about 2004. So, and then we moved what was left of ambush to China Grove, which is, the property was owned by Steve and Belinda White, and Steve was, he was the guy behind that Running Wild team I was talking about a minute ago. So I ran it for a while. Steve ran it for a while. I don't know when he closed it down. Anyway, we were there throughout those CFWA days anyway.
Yeah, that was one of the staple stops for sure on the circuit for a long, long time.
Well, it's a good field. And we had 6 5-man fields and plenty of parking. It's just, it was set up right.
Yeah. And like you said, lots of parking there. So,
not too far off the interstate.
Yeah. Actually, this weekend I got to play with, I don't know if you remember him, G-Way and Ryan from Nugent.
I'd probably have to see him.
Okay. But that talking about parking made me think of Nugent and the event there. It was tight.
Tight's an understatement. I don't know that we ever had an event no tighter than that. I don't know. We took close to 130 teams to Insane when they had the indoor field in Chattanooga. That parking was tight.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And you guys ran games indoor and outdoor for that event, didn't you?
Oh yeah. The indoor, I don't know. Those refs probably got shorted on their pay that week. There was no running from the paint there.
What's one of your favorite events you got to run? Like, is there one that stands out the most to you?
For what reason?
Just for any reason. It was a really good time. It didn't go well, or it went really well and you were surprised.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Anytime we went into Eastern Tennessee was always a good event.
Okay.
Kingsport, when we went up there, man, we played in a city park that went under the highway one year.
Okay.
That was cool. You park in the city park parking lot, and the parking lot was under the highway because it was a raised highway. So that was neat. John Morrell and the guys from the alternative sport, they come up to that location. Back in the day, we used to go to Sevierville, and man, when we go to Sevierville, that's another one John had something to do with. Sevierville was always a good event because, we'd stay in Gatlinburg or Pigeon Forge, and man, it's just, it was an awesome place to go. And, you got to play some paintball while you were there.
Yeah.
Chattanooga was a good event. The only thing about Chattanooga is, from here, there's no direct route to Chattanooga.
No, you got to go around.
Yeah, it's 4 hours to Knoxville and then 2 hours south, or 4 hours to Atlanta and 2 hours north. So, it's a 6-hour trip any way you want to slice it. But those events were always good. Going to the beach was always good. They'd be like, well, man, why you want to do the beach in July? Well, working men are off sometime in July, but you got to spend vacation and stuff to go play a paintball event. Rock Hill was always good to us. Different events carry different memories. We went to Black River once, and man, my God, it was hot that weekend. Heat index of about 115 degrees. Just Congo line of ambulances coming in to pick up dehydrated paintball players.
Man.
They just, they want to stay in the hotel room Friday night, Saturday night drinking and not have breakfast before they come out there, and then that heat just warm out.
Yeah, that's how it was done back in the day.
Yeah, but 115 degrees ain't playing. And it was weird too, because we can still talk about this even to this day. Like Black River was kind of out there in the middle of nowhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're going down some small road, and people are like, I can't find the field, and it's like, okay. I said, just listen to me when I tell you this. It's going to sound completely ridiculous, but this is the honest God truth. You're going to come down this road, and you're going to see a big rock on your left, and it's going to have some goats on it. Turn it to rock with the goats on it. I said, just follow that drive, and it's back around on your right. And man, the guys I hang out with, you turn it to goats on the rock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Just stuff like that. Each event, different events carry different memories. Black River was a good event, but it's just hot. Oh my God, it's hot. Mark Hanley
I
was
saw
wearing
Mark
track
this
spikes.
weekend too.
Yeah, ask him about this. He was wearing track spikes at the Black River event.
Okay.
And when he dove over the snake, he cleated himself with those track spikes. And he caught a vein. So every time his heart pumped, blood would squirt out of his sock. Yeah, and Mark's laying out there on the field hurt, and I'm kind of fussing at him for being a dummy and breaking the rules about wearing track spikes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, Mark, you gotta go to the hospital, right? No, I don't want to go. Mark, every time your heart beats and you're squirting blood out your sock, you got to go get that. They got to take care of that. I don't want to go. I don't believe you're gonna get much option there, pal. You got to go.
Yeah. He don't got a lot of blood in him. Yeah, I got to see Mark and Ken this weekend at that event, and a couple of the other old guys.
Yeah, those good guys. Ken's real good dude. I think a lot of Ken.
Yeah, kind of grew up around him, but not in his teams or anything. So it's been fun getting to know him over the last couple months a little bit more.
Yeah, I would never say I was real like buddies with Ken. We knew each other. We got along. I think there was a strong respect both ways. And I think, well, I'll be honest with you, when I walked away in 2010, he's the guy I asked to take it over.
Oh.
So if that says anything for what I think about Ken, I don't know if he would thank me or curse me because of that.
He didn't bring it up in his. I'll have to ask him about that.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have brought it up. I might get a phone call.
I'm sure it'd all be love now.
Yeah. When his kid was playing baseball, I think he had tournaments up there in Burlington or something. And once in a blue moon, he'd be driving through the highway coming about 5 minutes from my house. He'd be traveling up 85, and he'd just give me a call. Hey man, I seen Lexington. I thought I'd give you a buzz. See how you doing?
Nice.
Yeah, like I say, he's good people.
Yeah. A solid dude for sure. Normally, I got a lot of team guys on here, so they got to shout out sponsors. You don't got any team guy, or you don't got any sponsors, but anyone you want to shout out or anything like that?
Well, your listeners probably wouldn't find their way to Boss, but if you're ever down there, maybe me and the boys will be down there. Who knows?
All right.
It was weird that X-Mac I told you about the first time I took it out there. Jake had one of Jake's friends was there because he recognized the gun.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen that gun. But yeah, just if we don't go to Boss, we've been Palmetto Hills down there a few times.
Yeah, I just had Tyler who runs the seat salon.
Yeah, they do a nice job down there.
Yeah, they do. They got beautiful grass.
Yeah.
It's probably some of the best grass I've seen in a while.
Well, let me ask you a crazy question. When's the last time you've been to Rock Hill as far as QVC?
That wasn't for a event, maybe 2 years ago now.
Yeah, we last month we went we were going to Boss, but they were closed for some reason that weekend. And we ended up driving down the Palmetto Hills. So just for grins and giggles, we stopped by PBC. Just I wanted to see what had happened to the place since I was last there. And the difference in that place was night and day from what it was last time I'd seen it.
Yeah, it's very different from the place that used to host the MAO.
Yes, just a weird shadow of itself.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Yeah, that was surprising. That's probably the biggest shock I got that weekend.
Yeah, when I came back into it 3-4 years ago now, going up there was a shock for sure. Because the last time I had been up there, I don't think the MAO was being hosted there anymore, but it was probably with my brother for the CFOA 3-man that we were talking about. They had won a spot in the championship, and that was definitely the last time I had been up there. So that's how it was stuck in my head. So very different from that time period for sure.
Sure. There's a lot changed around here paintball wise, but the day that we had CFOA, we caught lightning in a bottle there, with all these small fields and small stores and people that read the magazine articles where you could be a paintball wholesaler for $3,000.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. And I mean, that's what made these small stores and fields. That's gone forever. So that'll never be back. I don't know. Like I say, we caught lightning in a bottle and we made it work.
Yeah. Well, and kind of different times, especially for retail, right?
Yeah.
We'll never get back the stores. It's hard to compete with online. So,
well, what do you stop?
Well, yeah, that's the problem. Like, and if you stock all the goodies, they're going to come in and look at it and, hand me that new CS3 off the wall there, and they're going to play with it and hold it, and then they're going to go home and buy it off one of the bigger name guys.
I mean, it doesn't matter if you have the product, you don't have the exact product. As fickle as Lindsay is, he wants, the white JTs with the gold stud, and stuff. And it's like, if you had the gold stud, you wouldn't have the white JTs, or you wouldn't have the white strap, or he's so particular about everything he wants, and it's just there's no way a retailer just can handle that kind of inventory.
No, not unless. Yeah, unless you're running a website and happen to have a store, then you aren't going to have that kind of inventory. Where back in the day, you either had to order out of the catalog in 2X Extreme, call up that number, or you had to go down to the local pro shop and see what they had. Yeah, but it wasn't always color coordinated back stuff back then. No, you had a gun that had color on it. It come from a factory like that. Yeah, or it was an aftermarket part. Yeah, or your stuff was just black. Yep. Yeah. The old school autocockers, kind of like Henry Ford. You can have it in any color you want as long as it's black. I still got my 98 autococker in the garage. Doesn't get spins anymore, but it's there. Good old right feed. All that stuff I got out there, man. I got Nelson base pumps. I got Titman stuff. 68 special, SL 68 too. Mm-hmm. TM11A, and it's all kinds of stuff out there. Yeah. Most of it's mag stuff. Yeah. What was it about the mag platform because a lot of the viewers won't know it, but back in the day you were either mag or autococker. So what was it about the mag that drew you in? Well, when I picked up a mag, they just worked. Me and autocockers have never gotten along. Okay. Man, the prettiest, most expensive gun I ever bought was a Black Magic autococker with a center flag uprising frame on it. And man, that thing when it was right was a sewing machine. Man, that thing never worked for me from day one. Mike Patterson tried to time it up, make it work, never worked. Took the electric frame off of it, put a mechanical frame on it, never worked. So yeah, it's just one of those things. I mean, it's just don't agree, but Max. The autocockers definitely can have a bit of a personality, if you will. Yes. And I will say this. I'll give you one last story here. I know we've run along, but yeah, no, I'm here for it. All right. But me and a couple friends went up to Keene, North Carolina. We played on this little rec field up there, right? And there's a fort in the corner, right? So there's woods on three sides of it. And of course, the corner's out of bounds. But anyway, there's some berms and stuff coming out of the woods approaching the fort. So anyway, we had three guys
with mags in the fort, right? And there's this CFA team, they were a rookie team called the Redneck Mafia. Anyway, the
Okay.
Redneck Mafia, they're attacking the fort, and there's probably 5 or 6 of them. It's 2-to-1 odds because, we're defensive. So anyway, and they all have Planet Eclipse egos. And they're in the woods and, it's slightly downhill, but they're literally shooting at us in the fort. And, they're lucky to hit the fort on the third bounce.
Uh-huh.
And we're sitting in the fort and we're just raining on them. So, needless to say, they're like, all right, well, switch it up. You guys, you attack, we'll defend. So, okay, we attack. Now we're coming uphill and we're shooting them out of the fort and they still can't reach us. So I honestly believe, those old guns had range on some of this newer stuff.
Yeah. It just seems to go a little bit further for
Yeah,
whatever
that was
reason.
my proof was in
So,
the pudding. So, yeah, it's a good time. It's fun to shoot them when they can't shoot you.
yeah, isn't it? Well, man, I can't thank you enough for coming on and just giving us a glimpse into North Carolina, Carolina history, Southeast history, man. You're a big part of it, and a lot of the guys coming back in these days played the CFOA under you.
Well, so been gone this long. I hope so. I hope you get a few hits off of it. But I figure after 15 years, most of these kids don't even know who I am. Well, I didn't
You'll
see
be
them play with
surprised.
us when we
The old heads come out. The old heads come out for it.
Man, I do appreciate you having me on, though. It was good talking to you again.
It was good talking to you. So after all these years, and this is definitely the longest conversation we've gotten to have. So I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Anytime. Hey, man, you got my number. If you need me, you can use it.
I will. Yeah, I'd love to have you. I got an idea brewing about some doing an old school episode. So it'd be great to have you on for that.
Thanks for tuning in to the Planet Paintball Podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Whether you're out there grinding in the divisional pits or chasing dreams on the pro stage, remember, it's all about the passion, the hustle, and the love for the sport. Shout out to 1023 Sportswear for sponsoring the show. Don't forget to use code Planet Paintball at checkout for 20% off your order. Gear up, save big. Until next time, keep grinding, keep growing, and we'll see you back here on the Planet Paintball Podcast